Hello and welcome to Living Life Victoriously. I am not Pastor Tom Anders. I am Pastor Howie. So we 2 weeks ago, you heard about Starla's story and the backstory of being a mission partner. And today we're just going to focus a lot on the stories and the miracles and how it all took place. So stick around for part 2 with Starla. So Starla, as we watched the video from a few weeks ago, one of the stories that you didn't mention was the coin, and help refresh my memory about what the coin. I remember we were at conference in 2015. This is after you knew you were going to be doing missions in March of 2015. So tell us, remind me and tell us about the story of the coin.
Yeah, so this coin I found on my discipleship training school outreach. I was in Zambia, and how I found this coin was we were told that somehow our funds for the rest of our outreach has disappeared and we don't know where they went. So our leaders were like, we're going to do a prayer walk and ask the Lord what he wants to speak to us, what he wants to show us. And so we go out on this prayer walk and we're in Zambia, and we are walking, and I'm just looking, and I look down and I find this coin, and it's a tiny little gold coin, and I'm looking at it and I'm realizing that it's a South African coin. And I was like, that's ironic, because that we still have like 3 weeks left and we're supposed to go to South Africa. And here I am in Zambia holding this coin. And then also on this coin, the year was 1991, which was the year that I was born. And then it was also, the back of the coin had calla lilies, which is one of my favorite flowers. And I remember looking at this coin and I was just like, this is so ironic. Like, we're going to South Africa. I found this coin. We don't have any money. And so I felt like in the moment it was a sign that the Lord is going to continue to provide for our outreach, to finish outreach well. And then also I felt like there was a deeper meaning to it because of the year and of it being my favorite flower in South Africa, which at that point I'm like, I've never been to South Africa. I don't even know if I'll like the country, but I kept the coin and I held on to it, and I went to South Africa and I absolutely fell in love with the country. And that was when I was like, okay, I think the Lord is calling me to South Africa. And so I held on to that word, and this was in 2015. And then that summer, I went to conference with Howie and the youth group, and I had this coin with me. And we were sitting in one of the sessions, and there were these 2 South Africans that come up and are sharing about how they are fundraising for an orphanage that they have or starting. And I just felt so tenderly to go and share this coin with them. And in my head, I'm like, they're going to think this is ridiculous because like it's worth nothing. Like it's just, yeah. And so afterwards I built up the courage. It was not easy for me to go and approach these guys, but I did it. And I showed the one guy, and he just starts laughing and like just so joyful. And he was like, this coin is significant for me because I'm here and I'm fundraising. And 1991 was the year that I was born again and gave my life to the Lord. And then he started talking about how the calla lilies on the back reminded him of Matthew 7, of where it talks about don't worry about anything because the Lord provides. And so it was just like, wow, like this coin impacted him so much. And he ended up giving me another South African coin that was worth a lot more. It was 2 rand instead of the 1 cent, but like,
Gave you 2,000. Yes. Which is what, 20 cents maybe?
yeah, it was just cool how the Lord had his hand in that, and like that was just one of the many things that the Lord used to point me to South Africa.
That's crazy. Yeah, I remember that time, and that was with Gary. I believe,
yes,
right?
Gary.
Gary,
Yes.
and there was another gentleman with us,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if you did it before or after, but our youth group had time with just those two, and we prayed for them and just had some prophetic words and stuff like that. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And one of the things that my wife said was, I'm getting a picture of cheesecloth. Now, I'm going to say this up front right now. I don't know what a calla lily is. I don't even know if we grow them around here, but I have to look it up now. And I didn't know what cheesecloth was. And as we were praying, my wife said, I'm getting a vision of cheesecloth. And I was like, what the heck is cheesecloth? And I think she's making this stuff up right now. And afterwards, he said, who talked about the cheesecloth? And it was my wife. He goes, my wife makes this dessert or something, and she uses cheesecloth, and he was excited to get back to that. And so it was just like, okay, she wasn't crazy, and there is such thing as cheesecloth, and I'm sure there's such thing as a calla lily too. So I don't know. So I say all those things because when you called a month ago or whatever, saying you're going to be in town, you said, I feel like I just need to come back, and I don't know why. God's doing a lot of great things. So I guess I want you to share some of the stories that you haven't shared yet of specifically those that was only God. It was that cheesecloth moment. It was that coin moment or whatever. And what is it? What are you doing back here? And what is it that you're looking for, seeking, or is it just wanted to be home? So go ahead and share some of those stories. I want to hear.
Yeah, I think
Was the nightclub one of those things that God's just doing something big?
Yeah, I think so. And like just how that has been happening, and I think for me like just he he's done so much more in my heart. You know, I had this word for South Africa since 2015, and just receiving other prophetic words, you know, I was reminded of the other day of how we had this speaker while I lived in Vegas and staffing and with while I'm there. This lady gave me this cloth from
Cheesecloth?
no, just a regular, just like South Africa material
with a piece of cheese in it, right?
Yeah, that would be funny though. But she gave me this cloth, and she's like, this is from South Africa. And she's like, she doesn't know me. She doesn't know the words that I've spoken. This is the first interaction I've had with her. And she's just like, I felt like the Lord was saying South Africa and Bible, yes. And I was like, Bible? Like, that's seems far out there because I'm like, who am I to like teach the Bible or anything like that? And so that continued to like just stir my heart. And so reflecting back now and just the words, and even when I went to do this School of Biblical Studies in Atlanta, like I remember meeting with Tom, the other Pastor Tom, and he was like, he reminded me of like the words of South Africa that I've had. And I'm like, yeah, like it's been 9 years. Like, I'm not convinced that South Africa is going to happen. And he's like, but how is this school going to get you to South Africa? And I'm like, I don't know. I just know this is what I'm supposed to do. And then it was in that moment I went and did this School of Biblical Studies called SBS. And I met someone who is pioneering the same school in South Africa. And one night I just had a deep conviction from the Lord, like, I need to pursue this.
Yeah, it's fun. It's funny because I just happen to think that as you've talked about all this, it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, you waited 9 years between 15 and
and I think
actually getting to South Africa.
Yeah, and so I think just one of the biggest things the Lord has been showing me in these last few months is just like the journey that it's been, and just the transformation that has happened in the journey. I think so often we think that we want to have an encounter with the Lord and be transformed in the encounter, but the transformation happens in the journey rather than the encounter. And so I think that's just one thing that's really impacted me, is just seeing how this journey has really transformed me and just brought the redemption and restoration and like bringing me to my original design and calling that the Lord has for me.
Yeah. When you tell me a little bit about ministering to the locals, I mean, are some of them having that aha moment of what God is doing in their lives, and share some of those testimonies that you've experienced with them?
Yeah, I think for many of my students, it's been really cool to see how the Lord has been meeting them. A lot of them have past struggles or hurt that they've been walking with. And so just seeing how they are receiving and meeting God in those moments of wrestling through those things, and just how it is transforming them and how they see scripture even, and just that scripture is coming alive to them and that this is a real living God that they're serving.
So when you say your students, is it students from around the world through YWAM, or is it locals?
So there is locals. About half of our students are locals from Potchefstroom, and then half are, there's probably a good amount from the States. And then there are a few from like the UK. And then I think we have, I forget where he's from. I think it's Swaziland or one of the neighboring countries of South Africa.
So when you do the students, they stay on campus, or I mean the locals, they stay on campus
Yeah, they all stay on campus and live in community.
and so they have some sort of a conversion before the schooling, correct? And so what kind of background are they coming from? I mean, are parents excited that they're there? Are they being persecuted? I mean,
yeah, I think many of them come from a variety of different backgrounds, but some have just recently come to know the Lord, and others have grown up in like the church. Many of the local students that we have grown up in the church and have known of the Lord. But again, I think it is also just very diverse in that sense of different walks.
so what does an outreach look like? I mean, you go out into your own community or surrounding communities, and give us some ideas of what specific we're doing.
So we do outreaches with, they call it the old age home, nursing homes. And so that's one of the outreaches that we do weekly. And then another outreach that we do is just street evangelism, kind of going down the Bolt, which is where a lot of the nightclubs are, and just doing evangelism, praying for people, and different things like that. Yeah, I think those are our two main outreaches that we are doing with this school.
And what are we doing at the nursing homes?
So we just often go and encourage them and love on them, pray for them, just giving them hope, because, I think oftentimes it's just like you're just going there and just waiting to die. A lot of these people, they don't have families around. They've put them in their homes and left them to just be. So just really loving on them and encouraging them and receiving words to pray for them and things like that.
And are those homes privately owned, government owned?
It's government owned. Yeah.
And they allow Christian organizations to come in and stuff like that. And has there been any of the street evangelism where you've prayed for someone and saw the miraculous happen?
Yeah, I have personally not been able to do any of the street evangelism yet, but I've had students who have come back and like have prayed for healing and seen people get healed, or even just like encounters with, they went into this one shop and they've been walking with this owner for quite some time, and then that same day they're walking in a different part of town and they run into this lady and they're like, you need to pray for my son. And then she goes into detail about who her son is, and they realize that it's the same person, and like just how the Lord is just pursuing. It was so fun to hear them talk about how like the Lord is in it and doing something and just connecting those dots.
Yeah. And do they see the dots connected? The person you prayed for on the street, are they seeing that dot being
I'm
connected?
sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But
And do you, so on your base and your home base,
mhm.
do community members come to the base looking for help or seeking help, or
They do, just because of our capacity. It's kind of hard to be able to help everyone, but we often have like ministry nights that we host every week and they come to and we can pray for and encourage them. But yeah, when they do come, we often are encouraging them and praying for them and things like that.
so you have, give us a snapshot of what a week looks like. You've talked about, going out into the streets, or
Yeah.
you guys are going to have a worship night. What's that going to look like on a weekly basis? You have ministry night, and
Yeah.
what's it look like?
So we, like I said, mentioned earlier, we just have every day we have prayer sets, worship, intercession from 8:30 to 9, and then we often have classes for our students, and then they have time to work, and then they do a local outreach once a week, and they split up. Oh, and we also do hospital ministries, which that is a wild time. Like I've been a few times and I've seen healings happen and like the waiting room be cleared out because the Lord has done so much and brought healing. Like it's wild. Like the guy who leads that ministry is just so anointed in that area, and what our students love going because they see such like his miracles. Like it's wild. But so that's also another ministry that we do
On a weekly basis?
Yeah. And then we host these things called ministry nights every Tuesday, which consists of worship and then kind of like a message and then kind of like an altar call to, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what's the worship venue? What's that going to look like? Is that just once a week? Is that going to be like church?
Yeah, it's kind of like, a church type once a week type thing. And then we open it up to the community and whoever. So.
Okay. It sounds, so we're ministering to the individual. Do you guys have a specific age group that you guys target at times, like children or teens?
Yeah, so we have a big emphasis on reaching the university because it is a university town. So we have a team that goes into the universities and just even different schools and just do preaching in different moments and starting different clubs and discipleship in those areas. But they have a huge heart for reaching the universities and the young people.
So one of the locals, they come to your school, they're in the program for 9 months. Then what do they do? Do they just go back to life, or are most of them kind of sent off to do?
Yeah, it's pretty 50-50. I think some students will come and want to continue in missions, whether it's moving to the Middle East or to North Africa or some form of missions like that, or even if it's just going back and working in a business or whatever it may be, but just having that biblical foundation and knowing truth and being a missionary where they're at, whether it is, business or making coffee or whatever it may be.
What does study time look like, or teaching time? Is it just lecture, or is it dialoguing?
So it's often just lectures. There's some workshops that some teachers do for the students, and they have about 12 hours of lectures each week, and then they have about 60 hours of study time to complete their homework and different things like that.
Nice. So as we get ready to wrap things up here, you're home. What do you said you feel like you were led to come back home.
Yeah.
What's it looking like? I know you guys are doing a lot of soccer games, softball games, baseball games.
I'm still also wrestling through that and figuring out what it is that the Lord wants to do. And I'm just trusting that I am here for a purpose, whether it's, for my family or for myself. And we'll see, but yeah.
Yeah. So you're here for the week. because you guys were
We have a break. Yeah.
So is this halfway through break or?
It is for break. We just finished our first 3 months of the school, so we have a week off, and so this is my whole break, and then I
Okay.
get back, and then I'll dive right into the school things.
So then another 3 months break.
Yep.
And then 3 months.
Mhm.
And is there a graduation at the end of 9 months?
There is a graduation. There's also a outreach that we will be doing. It will probably be like a 10-day outreach to different nations and just really equipping our students to go and teach the Bible kind of through this inductive method that they've been learning, just observing, interpreting, and then applying. And so equipping them on how to teach the Bible as well, whether it is in small groups or churches or schools, but that will be at the end of the school and then a graduation.
And they have to raise their own funds, that kind of stuff.
Yep, they all raise their own funds.
And how difficult is it for them to do that if they're kind of in a rougher financial condition?
Yeah, I think it's been pretty difficult for especially the locals to raise the funds, just because I think there's just a different view on what missions looks like, and even just like to be in a school like this, it's kind of like, why so into this rather than just seeing it as missions and equipping missionaries to be sent out in whatever way that would look like.
And how have the funds been for you? Give us some of those miracle stories, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, we're at 10 years
Yeah.
of doing this kind of stuff.
Wild.
So I know you've talked earlier about, it always, you don't fret about it as much as maybe
Yeah.
you would have 12 years ago.
Yeah, I think there have been many moments of it's like, man, like my bank account is zero.
Which is higher than mine right now. So good job.
Good. Thanks. And like just so many moments of it's like, man, I don't even know where these funds are going to come from. Or, there have been times where I have like $50 in my account and we're having like a giving day and I feel like the Lord is telling me to give $20 to this person. I'm like, I can't do that. Like I need all the money I can get right now. But then, I do that out of obedience, and then just to see how it blesses them and how the Lord gives me back what I've given, and like just continues to like provide for me. Like there's been so many moments of just like, I literally am like, I don't know how I'm going to pay this, but he always brings in the finances somehow. And I think it's just so beautiful to see.
And we'll go back to that Matthew 7 from Gary.
Yeah, right.
You understand it a little bit more now. Right?
Yeah, it's like, I don't really
and
need
that
to
fake flower that you're talking about, whatever that was.
Calla lily.
Oh, calla lily. There you go.
But yeah.
If individuals wanted to give to you, we'll put the link in the description, but how can they help Starla Beachy?
I think one of my current needs is I am still working on raising monthly supporters to partner with me throughout the year, and just even, honestly, just whatever.
Okay, so where would they go to? Would they go to YWAM Las Vegas?
So I have a link that you can set up donations through called EquipNet, and it's just very straightforward. It shares a little bit about my story, and then you can set up a reoccurring payment or just a one-time donation.
There you go. All right. Awesome.
Anything
you want to share before we wrap it up?
Nope. Thank you guys for having me. It's been a joy to share.
It's always a fun time having you around.
Yeah, it's been good.
So our next podcast will be on July 3rd. So make sure you tune in, like, subscribe, and God bless.